men dominated the Western visual art world. Indian modern art, however, distinguishes itself because it has, right from its inception, a woman artist, a brilliant woman artist who becomes the mother of Indian modern art, Amrita Sher Gil. Amrita Sher Gil dies at a very young age of 28, yet is remembered as the mother of modern Indian painting. Her father, Umrao Singh Sher Gil, belonged to the landed gentry of Punjab. Most of these people were British loyalists. Umrao Singh, however, was a nationalist and was engaged in scholarly pursuits and photography. So he spent an aristocratic lifestyle playing cricket, playing chess, and involving himself in photography. Amrita's mother, Marie Antoinette, was a Jewish opera singer from Hungary belonging to a very affluent background. How Umrao Singh met Marie Antoinette is a very, very interesting story. This story has a connection with the Lion of Punjab, Maharaja Ranjit Singh. When Ranjit Singh kingdom was annexed by the British, his son was kidnapped and taken to England. His name was Duleep Singh, and Duleep Singh spent all his life in England. He had a daughter called Princess Bamba. Now, Princess Bamba was friendly with Marie Antoinette, who was from Hungary, the opera singer. And when Princess Bamba came for a royal visit to India, Marie Antoinette accompanied her. There was a party in Lahore, and Umrao Singh Sher Gil meets Marie Antoinette at this party in Lahore in 1912. They get married, and then the couple moves to Budapest in Hungary. Amrita is born in 1913, and a year later her sister Indira is born. The two girls have a very affluent childhood, a happy childhood. We have a lot of photographic documentation of their childhood because Umrao Singh was a photographer, and actually he was the first modern photographer of India. Amrita learns Hungarian, learns English, is very fond of fairy tales, and she has done many illustrations of Hungarian fairy tales, and she has also attempted to write her own fairy tales. In 1921, the family moves to Shimla. They buy a house and call it Home. And this is in the summer hills. The two girls, Amrita and Indira, are having private tutors. They have tutors for music, for painting. So they become very proficient in piano and violin and even start giving concerts at the Gaiety Theatre in Shimla. Amrita joins the convent in Shimla. But just at the age of 11, she is expelled from the convent because she declares that she is an atheist. I can imagine the Mother Superior, the nun, asking Amrita to go away because she says, "I'm an atheist." Amrita has done many paintings during this time in Shimla. She has made drawings of her family, the servants, friends, and these drawings are of such great quality that they already foretell the great artist that she is going to become. Just as a teenager, she is able to convert the form of a human body just into a mass with absolute confident lines. Her drawings are only comparable, in my opinion, to drawings of young Picasso or young Francis Newton Sousa. During this time, there is an Italian sculptor who visits Shimla. He is supposed to be a mother's lover. Promiscuity seems to be part of the family. The Italian sculptor takes her mother to Italy and Amrita goes along. And I think this is a great opportunity she gets to see the works of Italian masters. She spends quite some time in Firenze. There is a work which is called The Child Bride. This is very important because it also is accompanied by a little note in her diary. The note says, The other day, we went to an Indian wedding. The bride was 12 years old and the bridegroom was over 50 and had 3 wives already. Poor little bride. She did look forlorn as she sat in a lonely corner where around the groom sat all the Indian ladies clad in gorgeous robes and gold, silver, diamonds, rubies, pearls and emeralds. Even your eyes got sore with the sparkle. In 1926, her maternal uncle, Erwin Bakte, visits Shimla. Erwin is an accomplished Indologist, an author and also a painter. He recognizes the immense talent that Amrita has in painting and encourages her to pursue art. Amrita is now 16, no longer a child. And during this time, she does a drawing which is called a tinder box. This drawing, I would say, is a signal of her adventures, sexual adventures which are about to begin. Tinderbox is a box of flint which is used to ignite fire. Amrita is perhaps suggesting that the posture in which the girl is lying on the bed is about to ignite fire in the man who is reclining over her. Amrita has also painted a very beautiful portrait of herself during this time. This is perhaps one of the last paintings she did during her stay in Shimla. In 1929, her mother takes both the girls to Paris. Amrita first enrolls herself in Académie des Grandes Chaumières, and then she moves on to École des Beaux-Arts to study art. Within just 4 years, Amrita establishes herself as an artistic force to reckon with in Paris, which is the Mecca of modern art at that time. Her works show influence of European painters, yet there is a distinct Amrita Sher Gil style emerging. The use of red for garments and for lips is suggestive of passion and sensuality, and this is a recurring element in all her works during her artistic career. At the age of just 19, Amrita Sher Gil wins the top prize of Grand Salon, is invited to be the member, and she is the youngest member of the Grand Salon, which is a very, very prestigious thing for any artist to become. The work Young Girls shows her own sister, who is formally clad, and then there is another topless model next to the sister. Amrita is not just painting canvases during this time, she is also painting Paris pink. She leads a very wild life in Paris, with multiple lovers, partying, and basically moving in very elite circles. The mother is worried. Mother, like any other mother, feels, is she going to find a good husband? And so she conspires to get her engaged with an aristocrat called Yusuf Ali Khan. But this engagement does not last long. They separate very soon. In the meanwhile, there is Mary Louise. She is a student and she is sharing the room with Amrita Sher Gil. And there are rumors about their lesbian relationships. The rumors reach her mother, and mother sort of reprimands her in a letter, to which Amrita has a very interesting reply to give.
My dear Mummy, do you know that I am of age now? So please respect me, my dear, clever and understanding mother.
She denies her lesbian relationship with Marie-Louise, but then tells her mother that in future, if an opportunity arises, she is absolutely open to have a relationship with a woman. An opportunity does come, and she has a relationship with a very well-known Hungarian pianist called Edith Lang. In a letter, Amrita tells her mother,
Mother, sexuality cannot be channelized through art or spiritualism. Such superstition is only invented for the brainless.
Amrita wants to experience her sexuality without any inhibitions. Amrita paints a number of nudes during this time, some of herself, her sister Indira, and one of her cousin Viola.
My mother was also sometimes model of her. It's a little strange for a son to see his mother in such situation, but anyhow, this is art.
When you look at her nudes, they are completely different. There is a streak of feminism in Amrita Sher Gil, because her nudes are not there for the gaze, the sexual gaze of the male. Her nudes are gazing at you, challenging you. They exude a certain confidence. Torso is her own back, and this work was exhibited at the annual exhibition of the Grand Salon and has its own share of criticism, controversy and appreciation. We also have some very sensuous photographs of Amrita from this time. There is a painting of a professional model which is done during this time, and it shows a lot of influence of Pablo Picasso. This model looks very sad. There's a hunch, and you can make out that she's suffering from some pulmonary condition. Through this work, Amrita Sher Gil is trying to basically draw our attention to the fact that the glamorous world of Paris is sometimes fake. Behind all the glamour, there is sadness, melancholy and loneliness. We have quite a few landscapes and still lifes from Paris. Amrita has a very nice statement to make about her art education. She says, "Although I studied, I have never been taught painting because I possess in my psychological makeup a peculiarity that resents any outside interference." Amrita is quite fascinated with works by Paul Gauguin, who is painting in the Tahiti Islands. And she starts imagining herself as one of Gauguin's model and creates a work which is called the Self-Portrait as a Tahitian. In 1934, Amrita decides to return to India. She has not asked her parents. She has just decided that she will go to India. This is typical Amrita. And then she writes a letter to her parents.
I have decided to return to India. Now I will give you my reasons. India interests me profoundly. Her people, her culture, her literature. India will help me in my artistic development. My stay in Europe has helped me discover the richness of India. Modern art here aided my comprehension and appreciation of Indian painting and sculpture. It is paradoxical, but I know, had I not come away to Europe, I would never perhaps realize that a fresco from Ajanta or a small sculpture is worth more than the whole Renaissance.
Amrita is as much a musician with words as she is with paint, and her confidence in her own ability is unparalleled. Just at the age of 21, she has the confidence to declare,
Europe belongs to Picasso, Matisse and Braque. India belongs only to me.
To make a statement like that needs a great strength, which of course she has. In India, Amrita spends the first few years in Amritsar, in her ancestral home, and then sets out on the Odyssey of India. Her work changes completely. She is deeply moved by the poverty of India, by the toiling women, the sad women, the lonely women. This becomes her theme. Art is supposed to be the expression of the experience of the artist. Art is the expression of time. and Amrita's work becomes the expression of her experiences with Indian rural life. It becomes the voice of the India's poor. Amrita dislikes poverty being made picturesque. She wants to be the voice of India's poor. She does not want to reduce the poverty to the decoration in a living room of a rich man. I want to be the interpreter of the life of the people, particularly the life of the poor and the sad. Her figures now are very stylized, with very little detail and completely unlike what she painted in Paris. Her works are deeply influenced by Indian miniature paintings. A criminal lawyer from Bombay, who is an ex-Air Force officer and an art collector, becomes a close friend of Amrita, and they have mutual admiration. The letters which she writes about her work to Karl Khandalawala are actually a great source of our insight into Amrita's works. Khandalawala encourages Amrita to travel to Ajanta, Ellora and to South Indian towns. Amrita is stunned by the murals of Ajanta, of the murals in the Dutch palace of Kochi, and also the murals of Padmanabhapuram. These murals play a huge role in shaping the work she has done after these visits. There is another very interesting development which happens in her painting. The paintings are painted in brown, reds and ochres, and suddenly a white patch starts appearing, representing some form in many of her works of this period. The South Indian trilogy, three important works after her tour: Bride's Toilet, Brahmacharis, and South Indian villages going to market. I decided to make Brahmacharis part of one of my art projects. I created an art project in response to the Mumbai terror attacks. So many people lost their lives. So in India, we have a custom of making rice balls as the pind, the souls of those who die, and then when a crow touches these rice balls, the souls are supposed to be set free. I enacted the painting Brahmacharis working with actors. In front of the actors, the Brahmacharis, was kept a large banana leaf with rice balls, the pind of those who died in Mumbai terror attacks. The static figures of her earlier works are replaced by figures in action, dynamic figures doing something, and also the landscape appears. Her work is showing more and more influence of Mughal miniatures now. There is a lovely paragraph which she writes to Karl Khandalawala, which talks about her works. All art, not excluding religious art, has come into being because of sensuality. Sensuality is so great that it overflows the boundaries of mere physical. How can one feel the beauty of a form, the intensity or the subtlety of color, the quality of a line, unless one is a sensualist of the eyes? Sensualism of the eyes is the new phrase now. Amrita exhibits her work at the Shimla Art Society. Some of her works are declined, they are not exhibited, they are rejected, and she is furious. She is given a gold medal by the Bombay Art Society for her work Three Girls, which is one of my favorite works of Amrita Sher Gil. But then, in general, she is not happy with the people who are at the helm of the affairs choosing art, giving awards to artists. She feels that most people who are at the helm of the affair do not understand art, and then she has a very important statement to make. She says, artists have every right to reject or accept public estimate of her work. When the public makes a mistake regarding a work of art, it is the business of the artist by some gesture to show that the public is ill-informed and dull. Amrita is very outspoken and opinionated. She has no fear about speaking out her mind. She says that she likes paintings of Rabindranath Tagore, but she dislikes his poetry. She does not like Raja Ravi Verma. She does not like Nandalal Bose, but she likes Jamini Roy. She is not very happy with the art scene in India. She feels that this is a rather bad copy of Western academic work. And the statement she makes is very, very powerful, very strong. She says what is happening in India in general is a fifth-rate version, a putrefied fifth-rate version of the academic work happening in Europe. Nawab Salar Jung of Hyderabad is collecting works for his museum, the famous Salar Jung Museum. Now, Amrita looks at his collection and she says, how can somebody who has any knowledge of art buy such rubbish work? How can you buy realistic Victorian paintings when there are Cézannes, Van Goghs and Gauguins in the market? Of course, this opinion is not very appreciated by Nawab Salar Jung, and he does not buy any of her works. In 1938, Amrita goes back to Hungary to get married with her first cousin, Dr. Victor Egan. Now, they have known each other right from their childhood, and when Amrita was studying in Paris, she often spent time in Hungary, and they were always friends. She stays for about a year in Hungary, and now she starts painting Hungarian rural scenes. India has influenced her so much, the rural India, that she carries a style of painting rural India to Hungary, and we have many interesting works which emerge. We have the Hungarian farmer. We have the village market of Hungary. We have the potato peeler. We have the cemetery in Hungary. We also have a landscape, which is a snow-covered landscape in Hungary. The couple returns to India in 1939. First they stay at Shimla, but Amrita's mother is quite hostile to her husband, Victor, and so they decide to move to Saraya in Uttar Pradesh, where they spend some years. And the paintings done during this time show a very pronounced influence of Mughal miniatures. Also, the animals start appearing in her work. A landscape also appears in her work. One of the important paintings is Woman on a Charpoy, done in 1940. Now, after she finishes this work, she writes a letter to her friend Karl Khandalawala. I have just finished a picture, a girl in red flowered clothes. She is reclining on a charpoy. Its posts of an incandescent red rise around her like tongues of flame. A fat, dark woman in the background in green is fanning her. There is a dark blue drapery which slips down, embroidered with magenta and cream flowers. So I think there are many paintings of this time, the bath, the swing, haldi grinders. Is Amrita happy with her marriage? What is the mental state at this time in Saraya? We have a letter written by her to Indira.
I and Victor are tremendously fond of each other, and yet we seem to have nothing, absolutely nothing whatsoever, to say to each other. When we are alone together, we sit by the hour in silence. He begins to yawn, and I sink deeper and deeper into a depressed and depressing silence, and we weigh heavily on each other. until, unable to bear it longer, one of us gets up and suggests a game of patience or chess.
In September 1941, they moved to Lahore and rent a house called Sir Gangaram Mansion. Dr. Victor starts a dispensary on the ground floor and Amrita has her studio on the top floor. Just after a month, she develops fever, pain in her abdomen. Dr. Victor thinks it is some dysentery because of some pakoras she has eaten a few days earlier. But it becomes worse. Nobody is thinking that this could be fatal. But slowly, Amrita starts slipping into coma, not before mumbling some words about some colors. And within just 2 days, on the 5th of December, she is dead. Father, Umrao Singh and Marie Antoinette rushed to Lahore. The funeral is conducted on the bank of river Ravi. Victor lights the pyre. Umrao Singh and her mother are devastated. Umrao Singh's parting words are, "She had entered the prenatal world at Lahore and death seemed to have conspired with life to release her spirit from its physical chrysalis in the same city." Marie Antoinette goes into severe depression. She tries to kill herself a number of times and ultimately in 1948 she picks up a gun from Umrao Singh's study and shoots herself. Amrita Sher Gil's is an epic life, rebellious, full of creativity and scandal. Had she not died, had destiny allowed the full fruition of her creative talent, I think the history of Indian art would be completely different. It would have been much, much richer. The mother of Indian modern art continues to support Indian modern art even posthumously. 2 of her drawings were auctioned for quite a high price in support of Kochi Muziris Biennale, which is one of the major art events in this country. There are many colorful anecdotes about Amrita's life. Kushwant Singh narrates an anecdote which happened in Simla. Amrita visits Kushwant Singh's house. He is not at home. When he returns home with his wife, the room is full of French perfume and there is a silver mug with chilled beer on the table. The cook informs him that Amrita is in the restroom. When she comes out, she does not apologize for picking up the beer without permission. Kushwant Singh shows her a painting on the wall and says that this is a work by my wife. She is an amateur painter. Amrita retorts, "I can see that." Kushwant Singh does not have anything else to say. On another occasion, Amrita passes a comment on Kushwant Singh's son, Rahul. "What an ugly child," she says at a party. Now, Kushwant Singh's wife is completely against Amrita Sher Gil. She deletes her name from the party list and Amrita comes to know about it. So Amrita tells her friends, "I'm going to teach that woman a lesson, Kushwant Singh's wife a lesson. I'm going to seduce her husband." And Kushwant Singh laments in one of his books that the day of seduction never arrived. Amrita is romantically linked to the man who would be India's first Prime Minister, Jawaharlal Nehru. They knew each other, they had a lot of admiration for each other. Actually, Amrita Sher Gil has said that one of the best things which happened to her in Delhi was meeting with Jawaharlal Nehru. Jawaharlal Nehru is a very cultured man. He visits Amrita's exhibitions quite a few times. There's a lot of correspondence between them. And he even presents his autobiography to Amrita Sher Gil. This is what Amrita Sher Gil has to say about Nehru's autobiography. "I normally do not like autobiographies. They are false. But I like yours. You are able to discard your hello occasionally. You are capable of saying, 'When I saw the sea for the first time,' where others would say, 'When the sea saw me for the first time.'" This letter suggests that they were really close. Jawaharlal Nehru liked Amrita's work very much, also because in spite of coming from a bourgeois background, Amrita Sher Gil had become a voice of the common people, of the poor people of India, very similar to his own upbringing. He meets her for the last time in Gorakhpur when he goes to address a farmers' rally, invites her to Allahabad, But before she could visit Allahabad, Jawaharlal Nehru is arrested. Nehru had intended to use her works for Congress propaganda since her works were voices of India's poor. Amrita never painted Nehru because she felt that he was too handsome to be painted. She was fantasizing that he would propose to her. That never happened. But Vivan Sundaram has created a photo montage of Jawaharlal Nehru and Amrita Sher Gil, in which he has shown Dr. Victor in the background. Amrita Sher Gil's works were declared as a national treasure by the Government of India, and there is a lovely road which passes alongside the Lodi Garden in New Delhi, which is named after her, Amrita Sher Gil Road. And I have been very, very lucky because I have stayed on this road a number of times because it also houses the Goa Sadan. Had destiny been not so cruel to her, if she had survived, would Jawaharlal Nehru propose to her? I doubt. Jawaharlal Nehru would not have proposed to Amrita Sher Gil, but he would have definitely proposed her name to be the chairman of Lalit Kala Academy or some such organizations devoted to art. And then Amrita Sher Gil would not have remained just a mother of modern Indian art. She would have become a mother who would get an opportunity to nurture modern Indian art and take it to great heights.